My ex-wife had an affair with her adopted stepbrother. Hi, true story. First off, thank you for giving men like me a platform to share stories. I found your channel not too long ago. Honestly, I wish I would have found it sooner. I was scrolling YouTube late one night just looking for something to drown out my thoughts when I stumbled across one of your videos. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but I know the story involved betrayal, divorce, and a man realizing he had to walk away. I sat there, listening to you narrate this stranger's story, and it was like you were talking directly to me. Every word hit, every twist felt like something I had lived. That night, I decided I was going to write in, but it took me a while to build the courage. See, my name's Charleston, and I went through one of the darkest chapters of my life when I discovered my wife, well, now ex-wife, was cheating on me with her adopted stepbrother. Yeah, you read that right. If it sounds twisted, that's because it was. People always assume affairs happen with coworkers, friends, neighbors, or random strangers you meet online. But with me, my wife Riley chose her own brother-in-law. Let me walk you through how it all went down, because even to this day, I sometimes can't believe I lived through it. The gut feeling. You know how sometimes your body just knows something before your mind does? That's exactly what happened with me. Riley and I had been married for over a decade. We had 4 children together. Yes, 4. And from the outside, we looked like a typical family. We had ups and downs like any marriage, but nothing that seemed insurmountable. But over time, I started noticing things about Riley that didn't add up. She'd guard her phone like it was a state secret. She started dressing differently, putting on makeup even when she said she was just running to the store. She'd disappear into the bathroom for long stretches, phone in hand, and when she came back, she'd act like nothing happened. At first, I tried to brush it off. I didn't want to be that paranoid husband who accuses his wife of cheating just because she's scrolling Instagram, but the feeling wouldn't go away. I could sense a wall building between us. Conversations felt shallow. Physical intimacy wasn't the same. It was like she was present, but her heart wasn't in it anymore. I remember one night vividly. She was lying next to me, texting under the covers. When I rolled over, she quickly locked her phone and pretended she was just browsing Facebook. My gut screamed at me in that moment. Something is off. She's hiding something. Snooping and discovery. Now, I'll admit something I'm not proud of. I snooped. I know people will debate whether that's right or wrong, but in my situation, I don't regret it. I had to know the truth because the unknown was eating me alive. One morning, while Riley was in the shower, she left her phone unlocked on the counter. I grabbed it, hands trembling. I scrolled through her messages, and that's when my world collapsed. There were dozens of messages between her and her stepbrother. Let's call him Mark. They weren't just casual conversations. They were intimate, flirty, and explicit. They talked about sneaking around, about the night they couldn't resist each other, about how they wished they could be together openly. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. My knees literally buckled. Here I was, the man who built a life with her, raised 4 children with her, worked long hours to provide, and she was sneaking around with her own stepbrother. The confrontation and gaslighting. Later that night, I confronted Riley. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I sat her down in the living room and asked straight up, "Are you sleeping with Mark?" Her eyes widened, and she immediately went on the defensive. She laughed nervously and said, "What? Are you crazy? He's like my brother." I pulled out her phone. I had taken pictures of the messages. I showed her the proof. She froze, and then, instead of admitting it, she doubled down. She said things like, "You're misinterpreting the messages," and "We were just joking around." She even had the nerve to tell me I was imagining things, that my jealousy was making me paranoid. Gaslighting, that's what it was. She tried to flip the script, make me question my own sanity, even though I had the evidence in my hands. I never thought my wife the mother of my children, could lie so boldly while staring me in the eye. Reaching out to his wife. That night I couldn't sleep. I knew Mark's wife, let's call her Emily, deserved to know. So the next day, I reached out to her. I sent her screenshots of the messages. Her reaction broke me even more. Emily called me sobbing. She said she had suspected something too, but never imagined it would be with her own husband's stepsister. As we talked, her breathing got heavier and heavier until she said she needed to hang up. Later, I learned she had to be rushed to the ER that same night because the shock sent her into some kind of panic attack. It crushed me to know that my wife's betrayal not only destroyed me, but nearly broke another woman too. The fight with my brother-in-law. A few days later, while I was packing my things to leave the house, Mark showed up. He stormed in, red-faced and angry. He tried to play it off at first, saying I was ruining his life, that I was overreacting. I told him to get the hell out of my house, and things escalated fast. Before I knew it, we were throwing punches in my living room. Now Mark is a big guy, bigger than me, and he's not just some average Joe. He's a successful entrepreneur with a reputation in town. But I wasn't about to back down. I think years of bottled up anger fueled me in that moment. We went at it until Riley screamed and the kids started crying, and that snapped me back to reality. I stopped, grabbed my things, and walked out. The family meeting. A couple of days later, Riley begged me to sit down for a family meeting. She said she wanted to fix things, that she still loved me, that we could get past this. Mark and Emily were there too. The idea was to sit down, talk it through, and somehow resolve the mess. But when I sat down at that table, I realized there was nothing to resolve. Emily and I both said the same thing. No, we're done. Riley cried, begged for forgiveness, promised to cut off Mark completely. Mark sat there silent, avoiding eye contact. I told Riley she had crossed a line I could never forgive. Emily said the same. That was the moment both marriages officially started their countdown to divorce. The divorces. My divorce took about 5 months. Honestly, it went smoother than I expected. I think Riley realized she had no leverage. She didn't work, and with 4 kids, I knew the court would lean toward me financially supporting them. I accepted that reality. It hurt, but I was ready to move forward. But Mark and Emily, their divorce was a nightmare. Emily wasn't playing games. She hired a private detective, and guess what? The detective discovered that Mark had apparently tried to have Emily unalived during their divorce proceedings. Yeah, I'm not exaggerating. He plotted against his own wife. Emily brought the evidence to court, and somehow, don't ask me how, Mark managed to get off without charges sticking. Money talks, I guess. Connections talk. He dragged that divorce out for nearly 2 years. Life after. It's been a roller coaster since then. I won't pretend I walked away without scars. Losing a marriage, especially one where 4 children are involved, is brutal. But in some twisted way, I'm grateful I found out when I did. I'd rather live in painful truth than comfortable lies. Riley still tries to reach out sometimes, usually under the guise of talking about the kids. I keep it strictly about the children, nothing more. I don't trust her, and I never will. As for Mark, he's still out there, living his flashy life as an entrepreneur. But I know deep down he's a hollow man. He destroyed his family, and for what? A fling with his stepsister. Why I'm writing in. I know this is a long email, but believe it or not, there's even more to the story. The stuff I've shared with you is just the surface. There were red flags throughout my marriage that I ignored. There were lies, manipulations, and things I only pieced together after the fact. But I'll stop here for now. I don't know if your audience would even want to hear the rest. It gets even crazier, if you can believe that. What I do know is that telling my story is therapeutic. Listening to your channel has shown me that I'm not alone, that there are other men out there who've been through betrayal and came out stronger. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for giving men like me a space to finally say, this happened to me and I survived. Follow up. More of the bull crap from my marriage. Hey, true story. First off, thank you for replying to my first email and even considering sharing it. It means a lot to know that not only did you take the time to read my story, but also that your audience might get something out of hearing it. Honestly, just sending that first email was therapeutic. I didn't expect to feel lighter after typing it all out, but I did. You told me if I had more to share to go ahead and write it out. Well, buckle up, because if you thought the affair with Riley and her adopted stepbrother was crazy, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Looking back now, I realized that my marriage was a powder keg from the start. I ignored so many red flags, brushed off too many shady things, and put up with way more nonsense from Riley's family than any man should. I want to use this follow-up to get into all of that, the bullcrap that made me question my own sanity long before the affair came to light. Maybe it'll serve as a warning to other men who find themselves in similar situations. The family I married into. When you marry someone, you're not just marrying them. You're marrying their family too. And let me tell you, Riley's family was a circus. From the jump, her mom had it out for me. She was one of those women who believed no man was ever good enough for her daughter. But at the same time, she was constantly meddling in Riley's relationships. Controlling is the word, manipulative is another. She'd insert herself in every decision we tried to make, where we lived, how we raised our kids, even how we spent our money. Her dad was the opposite. He was more passive but still toxic in his own way. He'd enable Riley's behavior by always bailing her out of bad choices, covering up her lies, or making excuses for her. He'd sit me down sometimes and say, "You know how women are. You just gotta let them have their way." And then there was the extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, and of course, the infamous stepbrother, Mark. It was a clan that thrived on gossip, drama, and appearances. They wanted to look like the perfect family on the outside, but behind closed doors, it was chaos. The early red flags. Looking back, I realized Riley showed me who she was early on, but I chose to ignore it. One of the first big red flags happened before we even got married. She borrowed my car one night saying she was just going to hang out with friends. Hours later, she came back smelling like alcohol and with her makeup smudged. When I asked her what happened, she laughed it off and said, "Don't be so controlling, Charleston. I just had fun." I should have pressed harder, but instead I let it go. I told myself she was young and just blowing off steam. That's the first of many times I let things slide that I shouldn't have. Another time, we were at a family cookout, and I caught her stepbrother, Mark, being way too touchy with her. He put his arm around her waist and whispered something in her ear that made her blush. When I confronted Riley about it later, she told me I was overreacting. "That's just how we play around," she said. "You're making it weird." That moment burned into my memory. I had no idea at the time how prophetic it was. The in-law meddling. After Riley and I got married, the meddling got worse. Her mom would show up unannounced at our house, sometimes letting herself in with a spare key Riley had given her. She'd rearrange my kitchen, comment on how I wasn't earning enough money, and criticize the way I disciplined the kids. One time, she actually told me to my face, "If you ever hurt my daughter, I'll make sure you regret it." She said it half joking, half serious, but the look in her eye told me she meant it. Riley never defended me in those situations. She'd just shrug and say, "That's just how mom is." The financial nonsense. Money was always a sore subject in our marriage, mostly because Riley had no concept of budgeting. I worked full time, sometimes picking up extra shifts just to make sure we were comfortable. Riley, on the other hand, treated money like it grew on trees. She had a habit of secretly opening credit cards in both of our names and maxing them out on clothes, makeup, or random online shopping sprees. I'd find out when the bills showed up in the mail. When I confronted her, she'd cry, play the victim, and somehow turn it around on me. "If you made more money, I wouldn't have to do this," she'd say. Her family didn't help either. Anytime we had a financial disagreement, her mom would chime in with advice like, "Just let Riley handle the money. She knows what she's doing." No, she didn't. She was driving us into debt while I was busting my ass to keep us afloat. The lies and gaslighting. Before the affair, Riley had a long track record of lying. Small lies, big lies, it didn't matter. She'd lie about where she was, who she was with, how much she spent, even stupid things that didn't matter. One example that sticks out is when she told me she was going to a friend's baby shower. Hours later, I ran into that same friend at the grocery store. I asked how the shower was going, and she looked confused and said it wasn't until the following week. When I confronted Riley, she gave me some half-baked excuse about mixing up dates. The gaslighting was relentless. She made me feel like I was crazy for questioning her, even when the evidence was staring us both in the face. That's why, when I finally caught her with Mark, it felt like deja vu. She used the same tactics: deny, deflect, and make me doubt myself. The kids being used as pawns. One of the lowest things Riley did throughout our marriage was use the kids as pawns whenever we fought. If I refused to give her money for something unnecessary, she'd say, "Fine, I'll just tell the kids Daddy doesn't care about them." Or if I tried to put my foot down about her spending time with certain people, like Mark, ironically, she'd say, "Don't you dare take their uncle away from them. They love him." She weaponized our kids' love and trust as a way to manipulate me. It broke my heart every time. The family turning on me. When the affair finally came out, I thought maybe her family would see the truth and hold her accountable. Wrong. Instead, they circled the wagons around Riley. Her mom called me abusive for snooping through her phone. Her dad told me I should just forgive her for the sake of the kids. Even some of her cousins spread rumors that I was making the whole thing up because I wanted out of the marriage. They painted me as the bad guy, even though Riley was the one sleeping with her stepbrother. That's the kind of twisted logic I dealt with from that family for years. The aftermath of the affair. After I left, Riley begged me to come back more times than I can count. She'd show up at my place crying, saying she made a mistake, that she'd cut off Mark, that she'd go to counseling. But it was always too little, too late. Her family kept pressuring me, too. Her mom even called me one night and said, "Don't throw away your marriage over one mistake. Men cheat all the time. You can forgive her." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She wanted me to just accept it and move on, like it was no big deal. Meanwhile, Mark was still strutting around like nothing happened, throwing money at lawyers to keep himself out of trouble. His messy divorce with Emily dragged on, and even though I was no longer directly involved, I couldn't escape the drama. Lessons learned. Looking back, I realized I should have trusted my gut from the beginning. The red flags were there. The dysfunction in Riley's family was obvious, but I ignored it because I wanted to believe in the picture-perfect life we were supposed to have. What I learned is that if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Don't let love blind you to the truth. Don't let manipulation make you doubt your own instincts. And most importantly, don't let someone's toxic family drag you down with them. Wrapping up. I know this email is long, but honestly, I could probably write a whole book about everything that went down. What I've shared here is just more of the bullcrap I endured before, during, and after my marriage. To anyone listening to this, don't ignore the red flags. Don't stay in a relationship out of fear or obligation. And don't ever let someone convince you that you're crazy when you know damn well something's wrong. True story. Thank you again for letting me share this. It feels good to finally put it all into words. If even one guy out there hears this and realizes he doesn't have to put up with the same nonsense, then it's worth it. Sincerely, Charleston.